The 2D ribbon is a 2D object, and when you drag it down into the scene tree, it creates a path. And when we click on the 2D ribbon and go into its editor, you can see there's a lot of options for the editor here. So first thing we want to do is come down to the very bottom of the editor, and we're going to turn on Show Control Point Values. So we're going to turn that switch on, and when we do that, it reveals a series of other numbers. And what we have is a 1x, a yx, a 1w, a 2x, a 2y, 3x, 3y, and so forth. When I move my 1x left and right, you can see how it moves the left side of this. When I move the 1y up and down, it moves the left edge of this up and down. The 1w, as I increase this or decrease it, it changes the width of this ribbon. And when I come down to my 2y, if I increase that or decrease it, it moves that second y point. And my 3y, when I move this up or down, it moves that third y point. Well, if you don't want to use these points, there's another option that you can use. And if you come back up into your editor here, there is an option here to turn on interactive mode. And when we do this, we get points. So when we click on these points, we can drag them around. Now, to be able to drag these points around, this E button must be enabled. If the E button is not enabled, when we click and drag this, it moves everything around. When we turn on the E button, now we can drag these handles around on the ribbon. So if we wanted to increase the number of control points on here, we could come back up to the top and increase our number of control points, and we can also increase the resolution to kind of smooth out the curves in between. There's also an option for a filled area, so if we turn on the filled area, it creates a filled area shape and also a double line, which kind of creates a double stroke. There's an option here for a closed curve, so we can turn that on and it closes the curve. A constant width, this is on by default, so if we turn this off, now we can come back down into our numbers, and there's a W that appears next to every number, so we can increase the width of certain points within this ribbon. There's an option here for add caps. If we turn this on, it reveals two more options, a begin caps and an end caps, so we can turn on a beginning and end of our caps, and we can increase or decrease the resolution of them as well. Down here, there's a show control points. You can turn them on or off. If you have them on, there's also a control points align. We can align it to the left, center, or right, and there's also a control point size. So other than creating your own ribbon shapes, you can also use this tool to create flares. And if we go into our images folder and if we find the right type of image to use with this, and usually an image that has an alpha channel or a key channel attached to it works best. So we drag this onto the ribbon, and if we go into the image editor, the mapping has to be set to vertex for this to work. So once we change this to vertex, we can move the position X and Y, and we can see we can create a flare. If we go back into the 2D ribbon, there's also some texture options in here. So we come down to texture options here, we turn that on, it reveals a couple more options. We have texture direction, horizontal, vertical, a negative horizontal, a negative vertical. We also have a texture head location. If we move this texture head location, it will move the beginning part of that texture, and also a texture length. As we move the texture length, we can move the length of it. Down a little bit further, there's a use progressive visualization. If we turn this on, it also reveals another option. It has progress mode by length or by control points, but the path position here, we can use this to animate our 2D ribbon on if we wanted to grow from a certain point.